Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to week 5 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. With us is our head coach, Bill Neese. I'm your host, Chip Hare. And Coach, the Indians once again prevail, get the third win in a row, third win in the league, 3-0, 14-7 win over the Aviators in what was, we'll talk a little bit, a bit of a strange game, but the Indians come out with the win. Got to feel good coming into the season now, getting 3 straight.
It was a big win for us. Yeah, we're feeling good right now, but we're not feeling too good. We understand that we've still got a lot of things ahead of us. We still struggle in certain things, and we still got to make ourselves better. But anytime you go into a game where a team's been averaging almost 40 points a game for the 3 weeks ensuing, and you're able to hold them down to 1 touchdown, and in the meantime be able to move the ball relatively effectively against what I consider to be one of the better defenses in the league, and one of the quality programs in the league, you got to be happy coming out of that game.
Really didn't know what to expect from Butler. I mean, as you said, they put a lot of points on the board, had played some teams that were really strong. There's some teams that were maybe not as strong as others. So when they came into, there were a lot of question marks as to what their offense was going to do against a defense for us that has been very stellar.
Yeah, and we've got some new guys in. We also have some guys that played in that game last year, and that was a very frustrating game for us last year. I don't know that it's ever going to leave anybody's mind, and I guess I'm talking about myself. But generally speaking, we were able to get in and play what I thought to be a pretty good game. Our tackling was crisp. I thought we broke to the ball and ran to the ball really effectively. And as I stated earlier, I think our run game got going. And in the second half, we found a couple places that we could get them and maybe dent them a little bit, and we did enough to win.
Coach, what Coach was referring to is last year, Indians were down 25-0 at half and come back and make a great comeback and just fall short. But in that, you talk about, you might have been the only one nervous. Game plan wise, was there much of a difference between what we were trying to do Friday night as to what we were doing a year ago, game plan wise?
It really wasn't. There was, the difference was, I think that we had some faster people doing it. We had some people that had better eyes doing it. And when I say better eyes, I mean there's a lot of times when you get 22 people on the field, and especially you're playing defense and you got 11 guys out there, you got to have your eyes in the right spot. And there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of distractions, motion, a lot of things that can get you not to look where you're supposed to be. And so I think that A, we're faster, and B, most importantly, I think our eyes are in the right spot for the majority of our defensive players.
Well, this year's game proved to be another bit of an unusual circumstance in that the game gets started, they score off of a quick, they get a long run, and then they come down and they score. Mm-hmm. They're up 7-0. We go on a lightning delay for about 45 minutes with about 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. We have to sit for 45 minutes. Gives us a chance to kind of get ourselves and regroup. We go back out and have to play again. We score, and then we're back in for another 25-minute halftime because it's homecoming. And so I know you as coaches all had all that prepared, but there's that delay, and people asked me all weekend, do you think that delay was helpful for us? Do you think that delay? And I think the answer is yes, but from a coach's perspective, what's going through your mind on that delay, knowing that you've got at least 30 minutes that you can put something together?
It was kind of interesting in the fact that the first delay, when the delay came to begin with, we were down 7-0, and I'm sure there was a lot of momentum in their locker room. In our locker room, you could hear a pin drop, nothing. We talked to the players, had position meetings, stuff like that, and I think that was good in the fact that it's our home field, and we were able to get in our meeting rooms and do the things that we need to do that way, teaching-wise, and it was important that we taught. We needed to teach some stuff. All right, then at halftime, all of a sudden we have a big play, and our locker room is completely different. Like 8 minutes later, I come in, our locker room is completely different. There's people up, talking, we're moving around, everything, everything's good. The coaches are, mingling in and out. So the entire thing has changed. And I'm sure on their side it was probably the opposite. So we saw the tale of, 2 tapes. But I really believe if you're going to have a rain delay, if you can possibly do it in your own home field, that's the best thing. Because not only that, but even when the game's over, it's probably, gone a little longer than normal. You don't have that ride home. So I think overall, I'll take it. I think it helped us in the fact that we could regroup a little bit. If
you look at the game, Coach, again, so many different factors to the win. We look at our offensive line, adjustments that were made. Scoring-wise, low-scoring game. Again, 2 touchdowns come by Karan Coleman. An outstanding performance by him. But I'm sure Karan, if he was sitting here today, he's only as good as his line is blocking. Some good plays have been coming through from the Indians' perspective, is what you say. We're winning, doing what we need to do each week to win. But the Indians, again, show promise on the offense and defensive lines throughout both sides of the ball.
I think so, and I think the motto for us, and we don't necessarily have a motto like we put on a T-shirt or something, but I think one of the things that we try to push into our heads is that we want to get better every week, a little at a time. We don't want to throw 90,000 things in there. We want to continue to do what we do. Don't forget what we do, because when our backs are to the wall, that's what we're going to do. And it may be, why I know this. The other team can say, well, I know they're going to do this. I know they're going to do this. But, the analogy I use with our players is, okay, you're going to fight Mike Tyson. So is that going to do, if Mike Tyson is who he is, it's not going to do you any good. And I think sometimes we overestimate that we can say, well, we knew they were going to do that. We knew they were going to do that. Hey, you still got to stop it. And that goes for us too. There's some situations where we said, hey, they're going to throw that screen, but when they get a 270-pound offensive lineman out on a corner, okay, there's not many options at that point.
I can remember some of the best coaches saying, and even when I was playing, I can remember you put so much time in your scouting report on what the other team does. But our coach did say to me, as I was getting through the playing, as I was getting older, hey, remember, they got to stop you too. Yeah. And that's the other part of what you're saying is, hey, we know what we're doing, but we're doing it very well, and we're getting better at it.
Yeah, we're getting better at it. We used to have a big sign in our locker room. We had taken it down, but Bruce Lee had a saying. He said, "I don't fear the guy that's got 1,000 moves. I fear the guy that's got 1 move and he does it perfectly."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. Now you don't want to take that to heart and have one play. Right. In football, we know that, but the whole point is with these guys, you just want to get as good as you can, have your base stuff, and then we start adding on to it. We start adding a little bit. We want to work that passing game a little bit more. We want to work our one-back run game a little bit more. Those are the things that we obviously know that we want to keep expanding on.
Well, the Butler series has been very competitive. We talked about that last week. Through the years, that has been a very competitive series between the Indians and the Aviators, and the game showed that again Friday night. And that's a good football team that we beat on Friday night. I know they're going to do a lot of good things down the
They're a playoff team last year. Yeah. Playoff team last year, and they're a good football team. They do things well.
So the Indians will move on, and they will take care of business as they move to West Carrollton. Move away from home. We've been home the last 2 weeks. Now back on the road at a West Carrollton team that put up a lot of points up against Tip City. So while this record it's a little deceiving because this team is athletic and they're very and they can score.
They've got a great core of players. We followed them. We played them 2 years ago, and we kind of followed them last year because we knew they were going to play again. And they've got a good core of about 5 or 6 players that are really strong, that really do a great job, and they're getting better with the rest of the guys. Those guys that may not be first team all league, but those are the guys that are really going to help you win football games. And so I think they're improving as the weeks go on. They had a receiver that caught, I think, maybe 8 passes for 240 yards this past week, and so he's a viable threat.
West Carrollton, what can the Indian Nation expect to see when they go down to watch the game on Friday night on both sides?
Well, defensively they play a defense similar to ours. they have two really good down linemen. They got a linebacker that's been there for a long time, so they'll play an even front defense, use some shades in the middle. Offensively, they've done a couple different things. They mix in a wing T with a one-back offense. We saw a little bit of a power game some of the early games in the season, but it looks like they've settled into more of a wing T and then bust out of the wing T. Every wing T team usually has a little bit of something else they can do. Like when Coach Nolan was at Troy, they could run the wing T, but then he would run one-back zone, and just hit you with that at a clear blue sky. And I think they can do that with their one-back sets also.
West Carrollton against Tip City, of course, they were home, and I think it has something to do when you're playing at home. You're playing somewhere you're comfortable with. They showed a viable threat. They put the ball in the air, scored on some big pass plays. They look like they've got some big plays where they look to try to score on some where it's not necessarily the 2 or 3 or 4 plays and then a first down. They're looking to hit you big.
Yeah, and we went and watched them play Thursday Night Lights at Vandalia Butler, and all of a sudden, Butler's cruising maybe to a 20-0 lead, and then boom, they hit a trap up the middle, 65 yards for a touchdown, and they're back in the game. And special teams wise, anything can happen in special teams. So that's what we gotta really put emphasis on this week. Not that you don't do it any other week, but really put emphasis on, making them work the field. Don't give them the easy shot. If we don't give them the easy shot, hopefully we can stay in the game.
Coach, we're now at the halfway point of the season, and so, and I think I heard you say this in the locker room. Hey, you got to win week 5, you got to week 6, and week 7. Week 5, 6, and 7, you're starting to get into the grind. It's starting to get the routine, and I've heard your guys week in and week out, not just this year but previous years. It's we take the week that's coming at us. But we also know that it does get to be a mental grind, and understanding that we are at the halfway point, having to push through that sometimes is as much mental as it is physical.
It is, and I think that's one of the jobs that I need to do, and I need to make sure that on these weeks 5, 6, and 7, we keep everyone interested. We change the practice schedule maybe a little bit, do something different a little bit here, liven up the meetings a little bit here. Make sure that every day our guys want to be here and our guys want to get better. That they never just say, oh, God, we got practice again today, we got this, and all that other business. So, we try to keep our meetings lively. We try to add some different things to it and everything. So as long as we can do that, and if they get stale, then that would be on me. So we got to make sure that grind is a good grind. It's not it's not the negative type of grind. It's more of the positive type grind where, we're making strides, we're doing everything the right way, and we're taking steps to get better every week.
Well, that's the one thing I think I get from our guys, either through direct conversations or just even seeing them walk by either through the hallway or just out in the crowd of, hey, their shoulders are up, they're feeling good about themselves. Obviously, when you're winning, that's happening. But it makes that grind a little bit easier knowing that you're having some success. And our guys are buying in. They're buying in not just to what you're saying, but they buy into one another, and there's a good chemistry amongst one another.
I think we have a really good chemistry. I think this is an enjoyable team. There's like I said, we don't have a whole lot of issues. We don't have a whole lot of egos. I think we got everybody just in on the same thing, and that is they want to win football games. The most important thing is to get our program in a situation where we're the ones that everybody's looking at again.
The one thing that there was a coach that watched the game the other night that said to me, this Pickle football team, not that it's never been that way, but you can just tell that they're all business on Friday night, and each team has their own personality and they have their own quiet way about making sure that business is taken care of, but they do take it seriously. And I think from the pregame, watching them warm up all the way through until they come onto the field, they're focused on what job they have to do individually.
They handle themselves very well. They handle themselves in the weight room. They handle, and I can always tell Friday. Friday's big in the weight room because I'm looking at the mental process. I'm looking at how people are coming in, sitting down, going about their business, this and this and this, and they handle themselves there. Before the games, handle themselves. They understand the concept of nutrition. They understand the concept of hydration, and they go about it the right way. And we're very pleased with that part of it. We just got to continue to get better with the fundamentals, and you can never not get better. You got to constantly be striving to do everything a little bit better as you go through.
Well, this week we have two guys that have shown that they put their time in through the past years and now getting their opportunity to play on Friday nights, and senior John Deladancha and Billy Dobbins. Both guys are guys that are our frontline guys. We're having a great deal of success on creating those holes for our backs. And I know from your perspective, you talked about this a little bit about them, but I want you to elaborate. That is, those guys have paid their dues and now getting opportunity to reap the fruits of their labor.
Well, exactly. And the funny thing was, a couple years ago, Sydney's coach said in the newspaper, he said, I don't know how they do it. He said, every year it seems like they just have 4 new seniors that come in and play offensive line, and they didn't play last year, and they're all 245 pounds. He said next year they'll have the same thing, and these guys just grow in the weight room. And I think those 2 guys are great examples of that. They played a little bit last year. Billy played, I think, 1 game. Greenville started, then played some other games in a backup role. John played JVs, served their time. Didn't say, well, JV's below me. He went there and did his business. And now they're both, after another year in the weight room, bigger, stronger. John's one of our best squatters. Billy's one of our best squatters. Those 2 guys both squat over 400 very easily. And they're phenoms in the weight room. They love the weight room, and it's built them up. And now they're enjoying a great senior year on the offensive line.
The other thing I noticed about both of those guys, you talk about going about their business, but you can just tell they enjoy being a part of a program that is bigger than themselves and the tradition that they really bought into, and they're taking advantage of their time.
Oh yeah, they're enjoying it. They enjoy it. And that's another thing you notice about our team, and that is after practice is over with, there's been some years where practice is over with and this thing's cleared out in about 13 seconds. These guys linger around, they talk.
Almost have to kick them out.
Yeah, talk, visit, they enjoy, they love to come down and watch film. They just stay after practice and do extra stuff, and they're just very easy to coach.
Well, Coach, we certainly wish you guys well as you move into week 6 at West Carrollton. Kickoff again at West Carrollton will be at 6 p.m. Coach, all the best to you.
Thank you.
We will be back with part 2. We will meet with John and Billy to talk a little bit about their impressions of the season and how they think this thing is going to move against this week against West Carrollton. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill and Lisa's Coaches Show. Right now is the players portion of the program, and I'm going to have our guys introduce themselves along with the positions that they play.
I'm Jonathan Deladancha, I play left tackle.
Billy Dobbins, I play left guard.
Billy, let's talk a little bit about the season so far. We are get the 3rd win in a row, 3-0 in the league, 3-0 in the MVL, get 2 back-to-back wins at home. Things have got to be really feeling good right now for the Pickle Indians.
Yes, they are. They're doing really good. We're still trying to get ourselves better and better as we go on.
As you talk about moving on, it's 1 game at a time. What I hear week in and week out from our guys is it's 1 game at a time. Yeah. West Carrollton is the next target on the bulletin board. What do we have to do to go into Friday night to get that win for the Indians?
Just keep practicing real hard and just stay focused and do whatever you can to get better.
Jonathan, as we move from your perspective, I've seen you out. You're putting a lot of, you're pulling a lot. The other night you said, "Hey, I just feel like I'm pulling and pulling and pulling." We've been running the ball a lot, but it's been very successful for it.
Yeah.
For you, what's that for you? For our team, but for you, what's that like to be out there knowing that you're playing a big role in our running game?
It feels good just knowing that I got people behind me and we're all playing our part. We're all trying to win. Just get better every week.
How's it feel to be 3-0 in the league and in a position now where you're going to West Carrollton on the road with a chance to get a win number 4 in the league? How's that feel for you to know that, hey, we're in a team that's having some success right now?
It feels great. Like Coach said, it's just 1 week at a time. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves. Just keep going. Just work hard. Next step, new step every week.
And for you guys, you guys are on the line. You guys are playing in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of the success of our running game really depends on how you guys are really making things happen. Again, Sydney dominated the Jackets. Again, the other night, that's such a great ground game. How does that make you guys feel that you guys are really not just a lineman that's standing there but taking up space, but you guys are really generating holes?
It just makes us feel great because we're just trying to do our best and trying to win the game.
Yeah, we come out here every week, same routine, everything, same thing. We just get ourselves better and keep going. It's just the same stuff every week. Just do it, and you progress as you go.
Real quick, guys, is what from your guys' perspective, this is really you guys are really now getting a lot of varsity time, paid a lot of dues. Previous years in the weight room, playing JV. Now you're playing on elite. So under the lights on Friday night. What's that mean to you, Billy?
It just makes me feel real great, and I'm just glad I got to play varsity this year on my senior year, and it just makes me feel good about myself.
Well, you can tell. You really can tell you put into it. Jonathan, same thing. What's it like for you paying the dues and getting an opportunity your senior year to play?
It feels good. The environment is great. You know, like everybody I play with, they're great people. And we go out there Friday night, we get the job done.
Well, I want to ask two more questions, and we'll let you guys go. Real quick on the season, what is the goal for you guys as a team at this point? I know we take one game at a season, but one game at a time. But what's the long-term goal?
I think as a team, like we just want to get to the playoffs. That's our goal overall, is just get to the playoffs.
Get to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's what I hear every week. Playoffs. It's really important. Well, after the playoffs and after the Indians have a great season, you guys are going to be graduating and getting ready for the next stage of your lives. Billy, let's talk about what's looking like for you for the onset of once graduation happens.
I'm just going to go into the workforce and go into carpentry.
All right, good.
I think I'm gonna go to an apprenticeship and hopefully make a good career out of that.
Well, I have no doubt that both of you guys are going to be highly successful. We certainly wish you well in your endeavors, but we certainly wish you well at West Carrollton on Friday night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, we will hear, just so you know, Indian Nation Station next Monday will be the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. The Indians will travel to West Carrollton on Friday night for their 4th MVL game. Kickoff at West Carrollton is 7 p.m. For Billy and Jonathan, I'm Chip Harry, your host. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.